Final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Dr. Julian Blackshear, and the topic is the Constitution, the 13th, 14th, and the 15th Amendments. And of course, Dr. Blackshear, let us give you time now to talk about some aspects of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, however you wish to handle it over the next 8 or 10 minutes that we have here.
If you recall, when I talked about the 13th Amendment, we talked about what it takes to be free. Well, that's one element to determine freedom in an English-speaking country. There's another element, and that is the ability to participate in a decision-making process that affects the quality of your life. Now, if you recall, that right is one of the primary reasons for the American Revolution. If you recall that you got Patrick Henry, a person from South Carolina, owned more slaves than you could count, on thousands of acres of land. He was, by every criteria, extremely rich man. But even he said, give me liberty or give me death.
All right.
In other words, money is not even important. What's important is taxation without representation. What's important is for an English parliament to make decisions that he could not participate in, but it was still impacted upon the quality of his life. Thus, when slaves were freed, you had to have the 15th Amendment to give them the right to vote, because that's the only way in this Republican democracy that we would have the right to participate in the decision-making process. Not every day, but at least on voting day, we'd have the right to determine who the elected representatives will be. So it's through the ability to vote that gives us the right to participate in the decision-making process that impacts upon the quality of our lives. Now, if you don't have that right, then you're not free, you see. Now, equality, all slaves were equal, but none of them were free. So we need a Voters' Right Act. And the Voters' Right Act and the 15th Amendment never was enabled. It took the enabling statute to implement that constitutional right in the passage of the 1965 Voters' Right Act. Now we got some guarantees that black people can vote and therefore can participate in the decision-making process that impacts upon the quality of their lives, and now therefore they can be free.
And so you say that the 15th Amendment was never enabled until 1965, Voting Right Act. Why don't you elaborate upon that?
Well, you can pass a constitutional amendment that establishes a right. But then you got to have the legislative body to implement that right that has been established by the passage of a law. We call that an enabling statute. There has to be some statute passed by Congress that will implement the right that's already been established for black people to enjoy. Now, until you have that enabling statute, you just got a right, but there's nothing to implement that right. And that didn't happen really until the Voters' Right Act of 1965.
Well, now, what impact, since we're talking about voting, what impact did this have on the disfranchisement movement in the southern parts of the United States?
Well, black people could not participate in the decision-making process. Therefore, they had no say-so as to who their elected representatives would be. And that's why you have in-number white sheriffs, white mayors, white representatives in government, and so forth and so forth and so on. But as soon as black people had the right to participate in the decision-making process by voting, then all of a sudden we got black mayors, where heretofore we didn't have any. All of a sudden we got black sheriffs, where heretofore we didn't have any. All of a sudden we got John Lewis and all the other congressmen that are black congressmen that represent various constituencies, both in the South and in the North. We got, even today, a black person is running for the highest office of the land. So if you didn't have that enabling statute, the Voters' Right Act of 1965, I'm not saying this still wouldn't exist, but the likelihood of it being exist will be lessened. You see, it's remote.
You know, sometimes folks talk about Congress' ability to pass a reinforcement of this law. I forget the name that they use.
They were reinstating it. Reinstating the law. The law ordinarily expires upon a certain term, and then we want to reinstate the law to make sure that it doesn't expire and to keep it going and so forth and so on. That's already happened, so it's still in good stead.
But now some people contend that